What's up, Internet? It's me, Todd, from runZero. We are doing runZero Hour several times in a row today, and we're calling it runZero Day. I am joined by some old friends, some middle friends, and a brand new friend. And this is Steve, and we've got Dennis, and we've got Bill here. These guys have been around the block. I'm not calling you old. They have been around the block
we are.
when it comes to journalism. And this session is entitled Signal versus Slop, Journalists on the Evolution of Research-Driven Reporting. Steve, are you still a journalist?
No. I haven't had a byline in many years now, but once it's in your blood, it kind of stays there, so I have opinions about some of the things I've seen in the news lately.
Yeah. And
yeah, I still am. Still,
awesome.
Run Decipher with my colleague Lindsay. And I like Steve said, yeah, journalism is one of those weird, things, once you do it for a while, it does, kind of stay in your blood. And it's also, a mentality of, this is how you approach things, the way that you look at a story or, a theme or something like that. You look at okay, how much of this is true? Especially there's a lot of that over there. How much what can I say that's new about this? All that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Okay. And who are you?
Wow. I'm just a Bill.
Okay. Just an ordinary Bill?
Just a Bill. Yeah, so I am still in journalism.
Okay.
I've been in and out of journalism through my career.
All right.
So sometimes I'm in a media company, sometimes I go work for a vendor.
Uh-huh.
Right now I'm back on the media side, helping to launch a new media brand.
Okay.
Called CyberSec
Yes.
Media.
Wonderful. You wanna flash?
Don't encourage him. Don't
Cyber with no E. I like that.
But it's just fun being here and thinking about the way the three of us, the way our careers have intersected and looped around over the last 20 years. Dennis and I were just talking. It's been 20 years since we worked together at Tech Target.
Crazy.
So how common is that, right? Is it more, let me rephrase. Is it more or less common than in other fields, like political journalism? Political journalists rarely get elected, right? But you guys seem to hop the fence back and forth quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
So is that accurate?
Yeah.
Why is this?
I think there's a couple things. One, funding journalism is hard, these days. You've seen that, that we all worked at media companies over the years, some of us together, some apart, but those media companies have downsized or gone away in large part. We saw this coming a long time ago. I mean, that's one of the reasons that I helped start Threat Post at Kaspersky in 2009 or whenever it was, because for a corporation, a vendor to fund something like a brand journalism initiative, it's relatively cheap. Mm-hmm. They can hire a couple journalists and let them go and do it, but
and journalists work for peanuts.
Truly, yes, truly. Not by choice, but it's just the way that things have worked out. But
it's not like they're an important
that does
pillar.
Explain.
We don't really
serve
much function, Todd. Yeah,
it does explain why we sometimes cross over onto the vendor side.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I mean, the money part of it is a real, but both in terms of the salary and just funding the journalism itself is
And it's incredibly hard when you try to fund journalism and a media company at the same time. So you rely on advertising,
right?
But the advertisers have a goal and they have their own agenda, and you have to align with that while keeping neutral. And it becomes very, very hard.
Those quotes were doing a lot of work.
They were doing a lot of lifting, and it's because if you look at the just go out and read the news today, and you will see it's mostly opinion pieces and very much nuanced focus. We've lost original journalism. Yeah. Investigative journalism just isn't there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah,
it's not a growth industry at this point. Yeah,
not anymore.
Especially in technology journalism, because when I first started, shout out PC Week 25 years ago. That
Right.
was, we were doing a lot of that stuff. Like there was investigative journalism going on at those like big tech magazines. You did a lot of it.
Yep.
So did I. But that kind of went away over the years, just kind of gradually because of the, you need those vendor dollars to fund the media empire, and those advertisers aren't going to want you writing the
Okay.
negative things.
How much pressure is that real? So like when it comes to like an outlet like PC Magazine, right? Like which was very dependent on like Microsoft, IBM, I guess at the time.
Very much so.
Dell
Yeah.
probably at
Yeah.
the time. If PC Magazine, like, is it impossible to have like a scoop on, it turns out like the Dell backplane is super hackable around the world. Like, would that not be published?
It was hard.
It was hard.
Say. Yeah.
Yeah, it would depend on your editor. Like if
Okay.
you had an editor
Yes.
who completely believed in journalism and, damn the man, they would publish that. But then you would have the business-driven editors that would probably hesitate to publish it, or they would tone it down before it went published.
So has this always been this way? Because that's what it's kind of sounded like.
In
to
my
me.
experience, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
I think it goes in waves too, and it also depends on the outlet that you're at and things like that. And like Steve said, a lot of it is dependent on the backbone of the higher ups who can, ideally the editorial staff doesn't really have much to do with the business staff
Right.
in a media magazine like that.
Yeah.
And so the editorial decisions aren't or should not be dependent upon business decisions,
Yeah.
but in reality, that stuff overlaps a lot. So if the business side finds out that you've got a scoop about some Microsoft thing and they have $400,000 worth of Microsoft ads that week, guess what?
I mean, do you want a real example that centers on RSA?
I would love one.
Okay, so
I'm not going to stop you.
I had an editor.
You can't anyway.
I had an editor at IDG who
Probably not.
absolutely had my back, and I found out that there was a business relationship between the IDG and the media company that I was working with at the time, and one of the vendors I was supposed to cover, and they tried to leverage that business relationship in order to get me drop pieces of coverage I was planning for the week during RSA.
Okay.
But because they disclosed this to me, I now have to disclose that to the public. So the very first sentence that you read in this story when it published here at RSA was the exposure of the business relationship to that. And, full disclosure, I'm writing about this and they have a thing with us. And then I finished the entire story and still wrote the way I wanted to. I was only able to do that because my editor had my back.
Right.
And fought all the way through to keep me able to publish that story.
So, like outlets like NPR or 404, right? They're very subscriber based rather than advertising based. What's the model that you're looking for with your newly launched thing with CyberSec community?
So the case with CyberSec, and I would say this is Decipher also post Cisco,
Yeah.
that we've done enough through the career of having to walk the line we just spent the last few minutes talking about. Now we're at a place where we can do it the way we've always wanted to.
Okay.
Where in my case, we're going to have custom content, of course. But we're going to have very stringent guardrails in place
Okay.
to ensure that what we're putting out there isn't pay to play. And one of the things that brought me to where I am now in my career is I had to do a lot of that pay to play. And I didn't want to anymore because pay to play always leads to bad content that does nothing to help security professionals.
Yeah, advertorials are not helping anyone, honestly.
Advertorials.
And to
That's a
me,
real term.
Yeah, it is. And to me, an article isn't worth a damn unless it's showing the reader the security professional that makes up our audience,
Right.
showing them a path forward in dealing with whatever the problem is that they're dealing with.
Right.
And when it's pay to play, there's a lot of pressure to really have it align with the security vendor who is sponsoring it, align with their marketing speak, their nomenclature, and so.
Yeah, it's a lot about sort of hyping admiring the problem instead of trying to figure out solutions for it, and that's like you said, Bill, it's like the antithesis of what we wanted to do when we started Decipher, which was like, let's try and help the audience instead of just telling them all the problems, like give them some information about how to actually go about solving it and what could be helpful instead of like painting everything as this dark cloud.
Right.
And saying like, look, there are people out here doing good work and trying to help you solve these problems that you have, whether it's a technical problem or a budgetary problem or, whatever it happens to be. Not everything is terrible. A lot of things are terrible, but not everything.
So,
Dennis
Fisher of Decipher raves. Not everything is terrible.
That's correct.
Great.
Cut that out for the social media. Let's go.
But everything is terrible.
But also,
But also,
Reagan shoots back. Everything
This is
is
turning
terrible.
out to be a very balanced report.
it's very balanced, very nuanced. No, I always hated writing the stories that were just pure fear-driven headlines, but
Yeah,
never
sure.
any answers. I never liked writing a story like when you talk about a vulnerability or some sort of attack that's going on. If you can't end that story with like, here's what you should be doing or here's what you should consider, I hated those stories. I never wrote them.
Yeah, we've all written them, and like you can go and find 400 of them every week if you want to. A new bug, a new attack, some new AI problem or whatever. But I'm sure you guys run into this like talking to your customers too. Like, yes, you need to help describe the problem to them, but they're coming to you because they need help fixing all these problems, not just another thing on the top of the pile that they already have.
Well, and like I depend, and runZero, honestly, and our customers depend on, tech journalism, specifically, vulnerability journalism.
Yeah.
I don't know how many millions of words I've read from like Sergio or Bill, different Bill Toulouse, and like these guys are making the donuts every day, just saying like, hey, there's new vulnerability, it's getting some heat. Here it is. Here's the CVE number. The CVSS score is 9.8 always, and
Always.
yeah, and look out, right? And so like, and I rely on that because the customers rely on that, right? And really it's the customer's boss relies on that to say, hey, what are we doing for this new vulnerability? That's CVE 12345, CVSS 9.8. Where are we at on that, right? And so like we're in that every day too. Yeah. Is this journalism? Like,
It's really hard to tell these days.
because you could practically automate that at this point.
Oh, there are people automating it.
Yeah.
There's way too much automation happening.
I mean, practically not as in almost. I mean, practically as in like very practically, like on cheap hardware.
Without question. Yes. Yeah, that's not the kind of work that any of us want to do, I don't think.
No.
We all got into this because we enjoy writing and enjoy,
I'm lazy. I'm not that lazy.
Yeah. I've seen how fast you write. You can turn stuff out as fast as a LLM. So, but that
How dare you, sir?
I don't know if I should be complimented.
That is a compliment. I've seen you write fast. But that's part of the problem is that I don't think a lot of the audience has either the time or in some cases, the information to distinguish between actual journalism and just stuff that's being thrown out there because it was shoved through, an AI chat thing. Like they took the vulnerability report, shoved it through there and put a byline on it and published it because like they need that click-driven thing to get their numbers up for their advertisers and all that, which, everybody needs money. But I think it's really hard for the audience in a lot of cases to distinguish between the two.
So do you have tips of like what should the discerning reader be looking for to tell if they're being hoodwinked by slop? Because that's like kind of, the title of this segment is Signal versus Slop, right? And like how can you tell? So yes, I want to know from you specifically, Steve, because you have been on the other side. And then you went away, and then you came back, and then you went. Now you're at 1Password, and so like, how do you tell? Like, what do you tell your coworkers of like, don't pay attention to this because it's like kind of made up, or do pay attention to this because this, I know, does it just come down to reputation? Or are there things that you can find in the article that say like, too many M dashes or something like that?
So here's the thing. You'll find some people that are heavily for M dashes and they'll fight to the death to keep them. It's not that. That's not what you're looking at. Yeah, see, that's the problem.
They serve a purpose. But
And I love bullets. So does AI.
Bullet points, yeah.
Yes, bullet points.
When you're reading something that you think is slop, the easiest way to determine it is to take the tone of what you're reading. Mm-hmm. A human uses certain inflections, certain cadence, certain wording that always translates to a human. An LLM will try to replicate that, but they don't get the emotional tone that the cadence get. An LLM could replicate a cadence, but it cannot replicate the words used in that cadence to convey a point that actually resonated with you. It just doesn't do it. So you'll see LLMs do a lot of, it's not this, it's this, which is that. No human uses that kind of cadence.
Blah, blah. This is a...
Right, and then
this.
like some random historical reference.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
You won't
come
see
from?
that. It's
Right.
always in the tone. And when you start to see that empty tone, or when you start to see a group of articles that sound alike when you're reading them, the little voice in your head, when you're reading it to yourself, and everything starts to sound the same, you're reading AI content and material. And I'll give everybody watching one challenge. Go to LinkedIn right now. Find a quote thought leader.
In a new window, but keep this window open.
And read what they're writing, and you'll see nothing but LLM generated content. It's all over LinkedIn.
I think the three of us would love to say that, like, if you see Steve's name on it or Bill's name on it or my name on it, like, it's something, you should read it. And there's other people in our industry the same way.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, a lot of for us, that's how we approach, like, do we put credence into this vulnerability report or this threat research report? Like, did it come from Tod? Did it come from a team that we trust?
Yeah.
If not, is it some new team that just, like, got born 2 months ago and I don't really know where this came from? Probably don't care about it. Like, a lot of it does sort of come down to reputation and context, and you'll sort of text somebody else like, hey, do you know this research team?
Yep.
Or have you ever worked with these guys? Is this reputable research? Should I care about this? But the audience on a daily basis unfortunately doesn't have the time to go through that whole thing.
Right.
They have to kind of just parse through everything and like hope that they can find the gems in there.
I don't know if you two have seen it, but lately I've seen a lot of industry reports come out that are purely LLM written. You could tell just from the
no doubt.
the vibe of the entire, like blocks when they're presenting their data.
Were any of them mine?
No.
Okay.
But here's the problem I have with that. I don't care that an LLM wrote the research report. I worry, did the LLM do the research?
Yeah, too. Yeah.
So like when I'm looking at stats for, like, let's just say we're looking at threat hunting stats and we're talking about groups of vulnerabilities that are leading to these breaches and things like this, and there's good chunks of math, right? Did the LLM do that? Because if it did, how do we know the math is right? LLMs are the smartest, dumbest things you've ever laid your hand on.
Yeah.
I don't know. We all have kids. It's
Oh boy, that okay. Yeah.
Full disclosure. I'm an AI power user.
Sure.
I take that term from our friend Matt Johansson. To me, the value of AI is you can spin up a lot more content at greater speed. But if you're not going through, if you're not getting that content, I'll put it this way. What comes back is only as good as how you set up the AI model, the prompts that you give it.
sure.
But even then, and I would guess that you guys do it this way too, I go through and I, in most cases, rewrite from top to bottom.
Yeah.
I use the AI to get started, to kind of get over that doom loop, writer's block hump sometimes. But the savvy reader, and in our industry, they're all savvy readers.
Yeah.
they know when it's us and when it's not us, because they, we have built relationships with them over 25 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, that's the point, though. When you had the AI the LLM give you the first draft, you went back in and put the human touch to it.
Yeah.
You humanized what it gave you.
I put my voice
Right.
in
Exactly.
there.
That's
And
what
it's
a
a-
lot of places don't do.
And I check every number. I don't
Right.
trust.
And that's where I think
Yeah.
where you get into like the ethical use, right,
Mhm.
of these LLMs, especially for things like writing. LLMs are great for lots of things that aren't writing, but especially for writing, for getting that, like, it's almost like, are you the baby editor before the editor, right? Like, is that your job now as a journalist? I don't know. I don't.
But
God, I hope not.
But do we fall into the trap where sometimes that slop gets through?
Mhm.
I could tell you, certainly in my case, yeah, there have been times where after something's been published, I've looked and said, I missed that the first time around. And we're human. We're juggling a lot of content at once.
Right.
That's going to happen, which makes it all the more important for us to be vigilant when we're using it.
I think that, the main way that I use it right now, honestly, is to help summarize like really technical or long research reports.
Sure.
Like the annual or quarterly reports that everybody puts out on threat hunting stats or like whatever it happens to be. Like, give me the 6 main points about this that I care about, and then, you can go off and write a piece from that. But
I've been led astray by that too, though.
you definitely have to double check that
and
too.
so like I'll do
Yes.
that, right? And I'll say like, oh, this is a really long M trends report, right? Like give me the bullets.
Yeah.
And I will say like, I have done this, I swear to God, in the voice of Steve Ragan. Summarize this for me.
The voice of God from above.
I have.
But then I have to go back and read it.
I have profiles for each of my friends. I take their copy that they've written, and I'll say, "This is how Dennis Fisher writes," and
that's
literally
horrifying.
And if you want a lot of expletives, it's write this in the Bill Brenner stuff.
it is.
This is terrifying.
Yeah, for sure. And so, but like when I do that, right? Like then I'll get my article, my fake, doppelganger Steve Ragan article, and they're like, all right, well now this sounds interesting enough to follow up, right? And then the follow up, of course, is then actually read the M-Trends report, because if I'm going to be quoting it, I have to know for sure that it was that it's actually in there. And Cyber Steve didn't just make it up.
Cyber Steve.
Steve. I like that. I like that.
You put that on your
I'm putting that on my resume.
badge at DEF CON this year.
I'm doing that. Cyber Steve.
You pop up the Cyber Steve article and the vape smoke just starts coming up to your computer.
I'm going to do that.
I think, and this is probably a very specific problem to people like us, is all these models were trained on like 25 years of our writing that's on the internet.
Right.
So like you put somebody else can put something in a LLM and it turns out sounding like Steve or me or Bill. You're like, wait a second.
There's a funny story there. So we've both done some stuff with Matt Johansson.
Yeah.
Vulnerable You newsletter, by the way.
Subscribe to
you
Matt's
want to
stuff.
read it. It's
stuff.
fantastic. But I'm helping him ramp some stuff up, and he'll come back and he'll say, this is an AI siren. This is an AI siren. And I'll be like, crap, man, that's how I write.
Yeah.
Like I said, I love using bullets. I use dashes all the time. I always have. But the great thing about that experience is it's another opportunity to learn and be better, no matter how many years you've been writing and how great you think you are. Helping Matt out has been a great lesson in terms of, okay, I always use this in my writing. Maybe I shouldn't anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, non-writers look at it differently.
And that's a little different because it's also a matter of you're helping somebody out, you're putting it in their voice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too.
And it's very easy when you're trying to put something in somebody else's voice that your voice keeps on slipping through, especially when there's a deadline.
Yeah. Well, I'll say that, like, I very much appreciate the work. I've, followed all of your careers, obviously. We have just met for the first time in person today, which I am baffled baffled by. We have not met before, Bill. But it's great to see all of you. I am a huge fan of journalism in general. I think it's probably the most important thing that we do in a democracy. So thank you for your service. And with that, I think we're going to be wrapping up here. If you all out on the internet want to stick around another 5 minutes, it's round 2 of journalism talk, because we'll be talking to Joe Menn, who is a old-timey.
I've heard of him.
Also not old. I mean, he is old. We're all old, whatever. But he's been around the block as well with investigative journalism. He wrote the book literally on Cult of the Dead Cow, and we'll be diving into that after the 5-minute break. So that's it for us, and maybe not, because I'm not getting the signal that we're dumping out yet. So with any final thoughts are done, and that's it. Thank you so much.